The ones that are making the laws and so gung ho about stopping the gays and the trans from being pedophiles. These are the motherfuckers that are the raping pedophiles. And there's a lot because they have their fetishes, their taboos, their nature, animalistic nature, even, is not met with their unconscious needs. All of us have this. All of us are, and all of us have to do shadow work. I mean, it's just a thing. Now, whether you actually recognize and acknowledge and choose to do this, that's on you. Everybody is not on the wavelength to want to give a fuck, to be more, grow. You know what that is? Growth. They don't want that. Some people are good just, and that kind of existence, I don't know. I can't tell you I can't tell you from a perspective what that's like, because I'm not that type of person. I'm always trying to grow, evolve, be more, reach, and bring others up. And do I get pissed off when I feel like others, what's not clicking? What's not clicking? Yes, I do. So that's why integrating sex, kink, spirituality, psychology, science, because all this shit is connected. I don't know why motherfuckers keep trying to. That's y'all problem. There's no harmonious balance. There's no yin and yang in your life. There's no balance of the light and the dark. There's no accepting the shadows. There's just suppressing and denying and covering up and persona and representative. You're sitting up beside your authentic self. And this is how a bunch of phonies and frauds. It's a bunch of frauds out here in this motherfucker. So the shadow work, even in your sex, because sex is also helping what's writing politics. Grab them by the pussy. What was that? Helen of Troy that said a bitch had to face to set sail to 1,000 ships. That's for pussy. Even back to scripture, David sent his best nigga to the front line just so he knew he can die, so he can fuck his wife. Sex, power, money, status. Power, money, sex. Power, money, sex. It's like a chant. It's embedding into your head. It's like it's a ritual incantation. Power, money, sex, affirmation. So we're here, and your psyche is made up of number of separate components: your ego, your personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. Now, your ego, like I got definition. Your conscious mind. Your ego is your conscious mind. I gotta be, what you think. That's your ego. What are you thinking right now? Your thoughts, your experience day to day, memories, emotions, your sense of self. That's your ego. Your personal unconscious. These are memories, feelings, and experiences you've forgotten or suppressed, but can still influence your behavior. Then you have the collective unconscious, shared by all humans, contains universal experience and symbolic meanings known as archetypes. I'll repeat that one. This is the collective unconscious. Shared by all humans, contains universal experiences and symbolic meanings known as archetypes. Now, these three components interact with each other and contribute to an individual's overall personality and behavior. Complexes, this is where the shit gets good. Complexes, which are archetypes that aren't integrated into conscious personality, are stored, why my tongue did that, are stored in the personal unconscious, the AKA individuation. We're going to remember that word, individuation. The complexes, which are archetypes that are not integrated into your personal unconscious, cause shit. And that's where the shadow work needs to be done. Because remember, your personal unconscious is a lot of memories, feelings, and experiences you've forgotten or suppressed. So that's the shit that needs to be worked out. Now, the inner conflicts which these complexes can cause because they're not integrated and not acknowledging your personal unconscious can create psychological stress. Bringing them into awareness helps resolve underlying tensions, improve mental health and emotional well-being. I don't know why I put that part here, but it's relevant because when you're exploring your personal unconscious, it promotes self-discovery. Now, Carl Jung is a famed therapist, psychiatrist, and more. Wrote many books, studies on all this type of shit. He coined the phrase psyche. And Carl Jung acknowledged, let me see, did I put that in here? Hold on. Well, he was acknowledging and integrating unconscious material was essential to achieving a balanced whole personality, a process that he called individuation, the lifelong psychological process of becoming your true, authentic self. We're going to get into the collective unconscious now, which is a universal and inherited. It contains instincts, patterns, images, and themes common across all cultures and time periods. Now, the key features to the collective unconscious are universal and shared. It connects us at a fundamental psychological level, giving rise to universal themes and symbols. The inherited, and now this is according to Carl Jung, the human mind has innate characteristics imprinted on it as a result of evolution. These universal predispositions stem from our ancestral path. How far back that goes, the ancestral path. And when we say, and when I'm saying ancestral path, yes, race is obviously included, but I'm talking about a human ancestral path. And beyond the human ancestral path is the energetic ancestral path. Like, how far back are we going to what root, the source of the energy from which we all come? Everything, we as in all of this. Now, also, the collective unconscious is expressed through symbols. Collective unconscious speaks to us primarily through symbolic language, such as dreams, fantasies, myths, folklore, rituals, and religious symbols. Pop culture, media, like vibrations and things that, like music, especially all media. Collective unconscious consists of pre-existent forms of archetypes, which can an inherited mental library with books, also archetypes that everyone shares regardless of the culture. Now, this was in Carl Jung's like Psychology Digest on some psychology, not that description there, not this whole thing I wrote. All the rest of this shit. But I added when it said this part, this is what they wrote: an inherited mental library filled with books, archetype everyone shares regardless of culture. And I was like, is that the Akashic records? Now, the Akashic records, if you're unfamiliar, and I'm gonna pull what it said straight from Wikipedia, then I'll give what my understanding of the Akashic records are. In the religion of Theosophy and the spiritual movement Anthroposophy, The Akashic records are believed to be a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future, regarding not just humans, but all entities and life forms. They are believed by theosophists to be encoded in a non physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. You see how that connected to each other with Carl Jung over here, who is not in any type of religion. Well, I don't know what his religion was. But he was coming from a scientific, psychological standpoint when he developed like the psyche, which maybe he didn't know. But all this shit is tied into like higher level shit. Like I said, all this shit is connected, even to sex, even to the power dynamics and the complexes, whether you trying to be a masochist, sadist, dom, submissive, like being called a bitch, a faggot, like cruising, exhibitionism, a bug chaser, like scat, having age play, kink, race play, consent, non-consent type vibes, all of that shit. It gets to your personal unconscious. What is being suppressed? Have you done any shadow work there? Is it causing emotional stress or unfulfillment, making you not feel wholeness? That's why the shadow work, including that into kink, whichever way you want to get, chicken, egg, chicken. And even Carl Jung said there's a collective unconscious that all humans are tapped into. We all are connected to. It just is from our ancestral paths as humans. Things we all know. Things we all experience or feel the experience empathically, clairsentiently, clairvoyantly. Jean Grey O. Scott. And when you suppress shit, make up personas, like people make rules for themselves that they have to obey out of suppression of programming and shit that they don't really want to do. Like, motherfuckers have sex but are offended when, say, let's just use this as a hypothetical, say that because my dick is all over my social media, say if I decided to go back into the corporate world and get a job, I have to worry about them looking at me in a certain type of way because I have a dick. You don't have a dick? You don't fuck? You don't suck? But but since it's visually shown, even though you're probably watching, even though you're watching some sort of pornography, that's where I say the people are fucking crazy. Like, and the number one response to this, the response would be, but the kids. That's your problems now. It could be possible they don't want to teach kids about sex because they don't want them to have bodily autonomy and know things. I think kids should be learning about, like, when the desire of sex or questioning comes into a kid's mind, that's the time to talk about sex. Talk about, no matter what you can't determine. The body is telling them, their mind is telling them when the appropriate time is. I'm not saying putting them all the way deep in, but like making them ashamed of their bodies, not like that shit fucks you up psychologically and because by the time you're 8 years old, you pretty much know the baseline rules of living. You pretty much got it. Everything else is just like an add-on of maturity and wisdom and studying and just experiencing. But by 8, so you're not teaching kids if they're asking questions. Why are you trying to dismiss them and teach them? Because when you suppress this shit, you get suppressed motherfuckers who don't know how to communicate their desires, their wants, their thoughts openly, and then you get in, and we can get into you being, but that's breaking down social norms to have people to be able to have these type of conversations. But again, when you suppressing kids, and I say kids should be even also getting microdosed with shrooms. Like at school, right before the lessons, but when you learning, baby, if kids were microdosing at school with guided, like teachers who were guided, who knew what they were doing, like this is an ideal world I'm speaking about. And no disrespect to teachers, but because they need to be microdosed too, bitch. On some shrooms, give. I totally support that cause. You be more aware about this collective unconsciousness, and you pour from the information you have from our ancestral path beyond just your fucking lineage, bitch. I'm talking about all of human existence and beyond. Fuck you mean? Y'all keep saying wanting to stay on this base level, this right here realm, when all this shit is above. It's above us. Like, so that's why I do fetish and kink dynamic therapy, because there has to be a way we map our desires to our shadows and integrate that sexual awareness with our personal unconscious and our ego to have a more whole existence, a more balanced existence, and more conscious and aware and truly woke. Because when you connected and clear and open and honest with yourself, that's when you really get clear and connected to the source. And that collective unconsciousness. And that's why I say give these school kids shrooms. They can tap into access into that collective unconscious, to the mental library. The psychologists, scientists, spiritualists, occultists all agree exist. Some know it as the Akashic Records. The leveling up as a collective, as a human race, we would experience entering a new age, the intuitive age. Bitch, would be groundbreaking. But this plane of existence right now, this timeline is going to be I'm here doing the work. So that's why fetish and kink dynamic therapy is very important, and I feel in my experience, because people are keep, and that's why I don't have alt pages. That's why I low key, if I see people mention alt pages, I kind of low key. You get all a whole. I'm giving you all a whole of me. You can see the multifacetedness of who I am, whether clothed, naked, fucking, philosophical, entrepreneurial, just living and being a human, a person. All of the things. I don't need to have, I'm not going to compartmentalize parts of me to feed an algorithm, to appease this quick turnaround of things. Y'all don't let shit sit. You don't sit with shit. You don't want to think about shit. You don't want to. And art, when you create art, when you create anything worth creating, you have to, that shit takes time. So when y'all keep telling, like, oh, you need to post 6 times a day, you need to do this, fuck the algorithm, fuck that shit y'all talking, because that's not how shit with any depth works.